Yeah, Kristen, that's right. So many members of the community are coming out here tonight to support each other. We just spoke with Steve Scalise moments ago. He was here speaking at the vigil tonight, speaking about how this is something that he lived through firsthand, experiencing this type of evil and this type of hate. And the overall message here tonight is that unity and love are the answers in so much darkness. So you can see the vigil is actually going on behind me. And again, so many members of the community are here gathered tonight inside of the synagogue right now, confronting a number of emotions: anger, sadness, and shock, just to name a few. The people I spoke to before the vigil say they feel numb right now. They mentioned acts of hate within our own community here in Southeast Louisiana, such as the North Shore Synagogue that was vandalized last month. And again, the message tonight is one of love and unity in the face of violence and hate.
Well, today is a response. It's a way that the community can come together, show solidarity for the people in Pittsburgh, for the Jewish community in Pittsburgh, solidarity for one another. I think there's a collective grief and sadness that we all feel. And we want to make sure that we have the opportunity to express that, to share that, to say we stand with you, Pittsburgh, that we stand together as a community here, and that we're going to do what we need to do to protect ourselves and to ensure that we are a secure community that stands up against hate.
And again, like I mentioned, there are a number of state and local leaders that are here this evening. Congressman Steve Scalise spoke at the vigil a little bit ago. I had a chance to talk with him moments before, speaking about how he lived through a mass shooting himself. We'll have that full story coming up tonight at 10. For now, reporting live, Lauren Bale, Eyewitness News.